I'm thrilled and honored to be here. Tremendous visit at ADNOC today. Incredibly impressive, high technology, strong culture, high performing energy business. I came over on this trip to start to visit 3 key geostrategic and energy allies of the United States who we've had long-term partnerships with, and I think the relationships among the United States and these 3 countries increasingly important going forward. I'm thrilled to be here and happy to take anyone's questions. Wow, yes, it's been a long-term partnership between the United States and UAE, both in energy, 2 of the major energy producers in the world, and also geostrategic allies. In crises and in good times, the UAE and the United States have worked closely together. I see that relationship deepening and growing in the future. The world just needs massively more energy than we have today. Maybe 1 billion people living high quality lives like we do, and 7 billion want to live lives like we do. And to get there, to further energize the world, we need a lot more energy. The UAE has huge room to grow their energy production, as does the United States. And we have a whole new industry just coming to critical mass now, artificial intelligence, AI. And what is AI? It's taking energy, an intense amount of energy, and turning it into intelligence. And the demand for intelligence is virtually unlimited. So to power that and make the world a better place is going to take a lot more energy and technology and expertise. And I think the UAE has been an early mover in AI. I saw incredible progress today in applying AI to their own energy system today and big vision for where their future is going. So I think you're going to see a lot of energy cooperation between the United States and the UAE. You're going to see a huge cooperation on AI. It's going to involve investments both ways, massive UAE investments into the United States, and we're going to see continued geostrategic cooperation with UAE. Very bullish about the future here. I'm not worried about any of those 3. We're going through President Trump's trade agenda is driven by 2 things. One is the United States has been very welcoming to imports. I think that's been to great benefit to the world, but most of our trading partners have not been nearly as welcome to US exports as we've been to their imports. President Trump's goal is simply to get the rest of the world as welcoming to our exports as we have been to their exports. And then his second agenda is to reindustrialize the United States. For 20 or 25 years, so much of the heavy industry has left the United States and gone elsewhere, which means that investment and those jobs, those economic opportunities got shipped overseas. He has a strong passion to bring those jobs back, lift American wages, grow American security by having more made in the United States. So he's looking with tariffs to get a little bit of an incremental incentive to shore manufacturing in the United States and to get other nations to invest in infrastructure in the United States. So I'm quite optimistic about what these will mean for economic growth of the United States and the world as a whole. But what you're seeing right now is some uncertainty as we're moving from one regime that wasn't as focused on Americans, particularly on heartland Americans, as a new administration. So we're going through a period of change, but that change is going to be for the better. Oh, the marketplace decides prices and investment levels. That's not dictated by the government in the United States. We have a very market-based system in energy production. But what you are seeing is a general drift lower in prices, and the reason for that is simple. That if you make it easier to produce oil and gas, to build infrastructure, to get permits and invest in oil and gas production in the United States, you make it easier to do that, you're going to get more oil and gas. If you get more oil and gas, you're going to get lower prices. But in the long run, in the next few years, we're going to see very strong growth for demand of oil and gas in the United States, and we're going to see production rise along with it. And then layer on top of that AI. AI itself over the next 5 years is going to draw significant growth in demand, particularly for natural gas and electricity from other sources in the United States. So we're leading into a period of dynamic growth that's going to require investment and more energy production. Look, all 3 of these nations are critical allies and partners for us. So I think the schedule just works out what the schedule is. I am thrilled to be here in the UAE. It is a long and close partnership with the United States, but I could say the same thing about Saudi Arabia and Qatar. All 3 of these are very important to us as major energy producing nations and longtime geostrategic allies for the United States. So nobody sets the price of oil and gas. Fortunately, they're set by free market forces. But U.S., right as we stand here today, U.S. oil production is still going at a good clip. U.S. natural gas production is growing at a rapid clip, both because we have increased demand in the United States and we're rapidly building capacity to export more natural gas out of the United States. So again, short-term moves or sentiment or perceived motions in supply and demand move prices around in a more volatile nature. I don't comment or have any predictions on short-term moves of those. But in the long term, I think we're going to see this continued gradual drift lower in oil and natural gas prices in the United States and hopefully on a global level as well. But not a reduced profitability of our businesses. They're going to drive down their cost of production. They're going to have lower burdens from the government, from the United States government on their production activity. That'll be good for U.S. oil and gas producers. It'll be good for investors around the world to come do business in the United States. We're open for business again. After really scorning business and particularly oil and gas business under the Biden administration, President Trump wants America to thrive again and grow. Look, President Trump's agenda all throughout the election was that lower energy costs would better American lives. They'd lower the cost for consumers and therefore raise their standard of living. They'd make it easier for businesses to be profitable and invest in the United States. He campaigned on that for 12 months. I think Americans were rightfully frustrated about relatively high energy prices in a time where energy demand in the United States didn't grow very fast. In fact, our electricity production barely grew at all during the Biden administration, and prices rose by 25%. That's not a marketplace working. What President Trump wants is to see growing demand for energy, electricity, not just from AI, but reshoring manufacturing, people just getting a little bit higher standard of living. We want to see demand grow, but prices not grow. Where in the Biden administration, we had no demand growth and prices growing. That's not a win for anyone. But the Biden administration also led to higher costs of doing business. You needed higher prices for the same profitability under President Biden than you will under President Trump. So marketplace is going to set price and demand, but I think you're going to see a growing economy, growing U.S. energy production, and better economic opportunities for American citizens. Absolutely. I'm very excited about the XRG initiative, a new company focused on investments in the energy sector, in AI, and in next generation manufacturing. I think tremendous opportunity for investments in the United States. I met with the leadership team of XRG in Houston a few weeks ago. I met with them in Washington, D.C. We had dinner with President Trump, and here I am in the UAE again. So yeah, I think we're going to see growing investment from the UAE into the United States. That benefits America, that benefits the UAE, and you will also see growing partnerships of American companies in UAE and growing investments over here. And these are both capital flows going both ways and technology flows going both ways. The level of technology for oil and gas production and the early investments in the AI in the United Arab Emirates and the UAE are very impressive. And of course, the United States has long time been the technological leader. We continue to work hard on that. AI is going to take a lot of capital and a lot of expertise. I think a very fertile ground for partnership between the UAE and the United States. Very exciting times. Yeah, real quick. Look, the goal with Iran is to have Iran's nuclear program go away. The best way to do that is through negotiations. But of course, that's going to take some leverage, and that's going to take an appreciation of how serious the United States is, that a nuclear-armed Iran is bad for the Middle East and bad for the world. That must be prevented. I think the United States is committed to that objective. With China, what you're seeing is early stage negotiations. We're going to see a coming together between the United States and China, I believe, for the best interest of the United States and the best interest of China. But President Trump is strong and he's bold, and he's not going to back down. The last 4 years, as I said, have not been great for the United States. They've not been great for economic opportunities of Americans. President Trump got elected to change the trajectory of the United States, better deals with countries overseas, better economic opportunity at the United States. You saw President Trump's first term. There was a lot of doubters and a lot of skepticism. It was 4 tremendous years of economic opportunity in the United States. I think we're going to see exactly the same thing these coming 4 years.